Good morning. Evening.
How's it going?
Good morning.
Very good. Very good. So 5 plus 5 is 12. That's the new definition.
Well,
How are we
let me
doing
tell
this?
you. Yeah, we're learning right now. We are learning a new marketing science from Jensen. It is called CEO math. It's not accurate, but it is correct. So it makes
From a
perfect
business
sense.
point of view, it's very accurate.
It just works.
Oh,
It
it
just
just it just works. Yeah. So you're getting you're not getting your 5090 because you have already a 5090.
Well, I'm still gonna get it. Actually,
Of
I
course.
am so hyped to get that. It's a dream, man. It's what it is. It makes no sense. Honestly, that much money just makes absolutely no sense. But it has been a dream for me, and that's it. I don't care about anything else. I'm just gonna be so happy.
But
And yeah,
I mean,
that's what matters to me.
it makes sense updating or upgrading from a 3080 to a 5090 more than anything else.
But here's the problem.
At least it makes some sense.
Yeah, but here's the problem. I can play all the games I have, and they are okay. Like I can run them reasonably well, especially now with this Samsung TV that has Game Motion Plus. I only need 60 FPS. I can get 60 FPS on any game. There is just a handful of games that look very bad, even with 4K upscaling and all of that. They look blurry, and that's one reason. But it's not enough to just spend that much money. It's just crazy how much I'm going to spend for that. But yeah, I want.
Anyway, what are you thinking, Adam? What are we doing with all the information what we got in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 days?
Well, specifically on the PC side, I'm going to need to learn some stuff from you guys today because, as I said in a couple of our last live streams, I checked out on PC and went full console a couple of years ago. I'm still relatively up to date because I am a techie by trade, but I am seeing a lot of these comments about these new graphics cards and how they're just not adding up. So I'm hoping you guys can kind of catch me up. So that's why I'm here today, hoping to learn a bit.
Yeah. I mean, that's the title from this stream today. You get fake frames for real money. That's what's happening.
So what is the main problem? What is the main problem? If you can give me what is the main gripes here? Like you guys obviously have a lot of opinions. So if you can bring me up to
the main thing. So the main thing is that the 5090 or the 50 series is nothing without frame generation. That's the main topic, I would say.
Okay.
So that's the thing. I was expecting a little bit more performance from the 50 series, to be honest. The raw performance.
Yeah, basically, without the frame gen, you are paying more for accordingly the same improvement on performance or very close. So it's not like for the same money you're getting more performance, which is what we should expect usually. So if you turn off frame generation, all of that, the raw performance is very close to how much more you're paying for the graphics card. I'm talking about the 5090 mainly. Of course, the value might be a little bit better with something like the 5070, but of course, it is completely misleading to say the 5070 is a 5090 because you're using frame generation. And I want to make this very clear. I'm a big fan of frame generation, but for a different reason, not from the reason that the developers are using or Nvidia is marketing. Frame generation is necessary for very high refresh rate. How can you get 480 frames per second? It's rock solid. Absolutely impossible. So 480 frames per second looks amazing because the motion clarity, especially on one of these OLEDs, is going to be absolutely insane. Frame generation is the only way, asynchronous reprojection, something like that, because the CPUs are not fast enough. It doesn't matter how big of a performance improvement is the 5090. CPU bottleneck is not going to let you go that high on the frame rate, especially not rock solid. So I am a huge fan of frame generation for that because it will enable a different kind of experience. But it is not to go from 20 frames to 100 or 144. Yeah. And the reason people think, 140 frames, that's amazing. because they know what real 140 frames is. But to go from 20 to 144 using upscaling, now you make everything more blurry. Now you're using fake frames. You have interpolation artifacts, ghosting. That's not the reason for the technology. That is not why you want frame generation, in my opinion. You want frame generation if you are already getting more than 100 frames, you have a very high refresh rate monitor, and you want to see the fluidity. That's when these technologies are going to really shine. That's my take on that.
So you said something there. I wasn't sure if you made a mistake or I don't understand correctly. So I think you said the 5070, they're comparing that to the 4090, but it's only because it's using frame generation. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, yeah, because I think at one point you said the 5070 was comparing to the 5090, so I thought that might have been, just a mistake.
I made a mistake then.
Yeah, that's cool. Just so I'm understanding, because I don't know a lot of this stuff. So what you're telling me is they're promoting the 5070 as like a 4090 equivalent, but they're doing it by kind of frame generating, by creating fake frames to get the same kind of performance.
Yeah, the thing is, you cannot call performance to frame generation. That is not performance.
Yeah.
See,
that's like where the consoles were making 1080p and they were upscaling to 4K, saying, "Oh, it's 4K." It's not 4K. You're just using magic to kind of, get that increase. Okay, I understand. Gotcha.
It is not right to do that. And when we see the reviews, but here's the thing: it is not right to do the opposite either. You cannot just ignore completely the fact that these GPUs have that technology, because most people are actually going to use it. So to do a review and say, "Oh, we're going to turn off DLSS, turn off frame generation, and we're just going to compare the raw performance," that is not right to do either. There is a very, each reviewer has to do a good job in trying to explain what the difference is, because we are no longer comparing apples to apples. That's the thing.
I will jump in and say, sorry, Marcus. One thing I wanted to discuss this live stream when we get later down the track is I do feel, and maybe I don't always want to be the negative guy. Every live stream, I feel like I'm always coming in with like a pushback, but I feel like every CES, and particularly this one, it was all just, they throw these buzzwords and magic numbers and just try to get you excited when the incremental changes are actually relatively small. And that goes across the board, from GPUs to TVs to all this stuff. The only thing I saw that was pretty interesting, and I'm no expert, was like the PC monitors, where they're doing crazy curved displays with 500-600 hertz refresh rates plus and things like that. But I'm sure we will get to that. But it's very interesting to hear how it's all kind of leveling out now.
Yeah, and I am very happy with it. I've been not predicting, because I don't do leaks or anything like that, but I've been talking about frame generation for the longest time. Since I got the LGC1 and I tried the Judder and the Blur and all of that, I was like, man, this is awesome. The input lag is terrible, of course.
Yeah.
I was like, Nvidia needs to do this. And they did it on the 40 series, and I was expecting this time. I said it on the live stream. I did a reaction. I had a lot of fun with that too. And I said, I am expecting 4x, 3x frame generation. And it happened, because it just makes sense. It is, with the displays we have today, with such a high refresh rate, it is necessary. It's the only way to use these displays.
Yeah, I agree. I think that comment was towards me. Don't complain so much. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
I think it's in general, but we're not complaining. We're just stating the facts, and that people shouldn't get too hyped around, because at the end, and we said this so many times, Nvidia, or not a single company out there is your friend. They're trying to make the most of profit as they can. And but I mean, yes, you're right, Ariel. We should look at all the features what a product have, absolutely. But what is, if a game doesn't support frame generation? Then we need to look at the raw performance, of course. I mean, it's unlikely that we're getting AAA games, let's say like Witcher 4 at some point, and it doesn't support DLSS and a frame chain. It's unlikely. It's very unlikely, you know what I mean? So yes, we will have a big benefit or advantage from the 50 series about that, or for that. So the question is, how is it playable then? You know what I mean? So, because is it the same issue what we had before? So, if we have a very low base frame rate and we're adding a frame, so let's say we have just 40 FPS and we're adding frame gen times 4, is it really a good idea? You know?
No, and let me tell you, one of the most exciting features about these new GPUs is Reflex 2. I already tested that, not Reflex 2, but I know exactly what Reflex 2 is doing because I already tested the asynchronous reprojection game or demo we have on the PC. It's asynchronous reprojection outside of VR. I made a video about that like almost 2 years ago. Linus also covered that. And it is incredible. Frame generation plus Reflex 2 is going to be mind-blowing. Let me tell you, when you test the game and you see that the input lag is absolutely flawless. So imagine you're actually getting the input lag of the amount of frames that your display is receiving, almost that. So once you see that the input lag is like flawless, the fluidity is also flawless. Now, the only question is, do you see the interpolation artifacts? Do you see any ugliness? And if the answer is no, you're going to be absolutely like, this is insane, absolutely incredible. And I think it's going to happen. I am very excited for that.
Okay, so you're getting the 5090 first day?
Yeah, day one. But Reflex,
Wow.
Reflex will be available on the RTX GPUs. It will happen.
Yeah.
Jeez, man, you got some cash to burn.
Just to so what the only thing what is not available on the old 40 cards is the new frame generation, correct? All the other new stuff what they announced, DLSS 4 and stuff like that, is all available. So what would you say? So for me as a 4090 user and hardly using, actually, is it a point to upgrade? I mean, look, that's the thing. So if you're into PC gaming, and of course you like to play everything at the highest frame rate and stuff like that, but still, 4080, we're getting DLSS 4, which probably increases frames also slightly, you know what I mean, and better image quality. So is it really?
Can I jump on the back of that question? Great question, Marcus.
Yeah.
And he was saying, like, is it worth to upgrade? And if I don't mind, I want to add something onto the back of that. Is for someone like me who doesn't own a PC, I've got zero. If I was to buy a new PC, Marcus is correct. Is it worth to upgrade? And for someone who's new, is it better for me to just go and buy a cheap 4090 now and save a bit of money, or
there will not be cheap
5090? Well, do you know what I mean? Like, would it be be more economical to buy a 4090 rather than go all the way? Is it worth it?
Yes, I think right now, because of the marketing confusion, 5070 for $550, that's a 4090. There's gonna be some people who are actually gonna sell that 4090 for like $1,000. That's a steal. If you can get a used 4090 for $1,000, that's the GPU to buy. Because the 5070 is not even close to the 4090, not even close. So that would be that would be the value basically.
Then I'm looking at some websites. So they listed the products already, what you can buy, but there are no prices here in Australia so far. I mean, we know the prices. The 5090 will be $4,000, the 5080 $2,000, and they're listing the 5070 as well, 5070 Ti. But again, no prices. But when I'm looking at the old 4090, there's no difference in price right now. There's no difference in price for the 4080 Super. It's exactly the same. So I'm not expecting that those cards are getting actually cheap.
I'm saying used on the used market.
Used. Used. But I'm always like, you want to buy used. With 4090, I mean, you still can, I'm not the biggest fan of buying used hardware. But anyway. That's just me.
But GPUs are very solid. If it works, it's not gonna. You just need to test it a little bit. If it works, it's not gonna have any issue. They are very solid.
Adam, you can buy my 4080 for $2,000 if you want.
For a low price of $2,000.
Yeah, it's a friend's price.
and I only used it for crypto mining 24/7.
Actually, no, I did because you can't do it anymore with this card.
Okay, I remember
it's a low hash rate.
a year or two ago. That was the problem. People were selling these cheap graphics cards that had basically been on for 3 years straight mining crypto.
But this is the thing, because what I have done with crypto, just off topic, you actually, if you do this correctly, you actually undervolt your card as well to use the lowest energy possible, and you get actually really high hash rates, with doing this. That's what I've done with my 3080 I have here, and 3060 and whatever. You know what I mean? So
let me tell you,
anyway,
I will do that because I am not upgrading the power supply. I'm not upgrading the power supply. I have a 750 watt power supply, and I know a lot of people say that you have to be careful because of the transient and like a spike or something like that. I understand. So what I'm going to do is I will test it. I think worst case scenario, the computer shuts off and then I get another power supply. I think it's gonna work. I already tested. I have a backup that measures the consumption, the wattage. And right now my PC is like 510, 520 watts when I'm gaming. And the 5090 is like 200 more watts than my GPU. A little bit more, over 200 watts. So I think it's actually gonna work. So what I will do is I'll put the 5090. I will lower the power on the GPU, and I will see first. So I'm going to increase it gradually. So I am monitoring what is the wattage that my PC is consuming when I'm playing. So I'm like, okay, I have 100 watts more to go. I increase it a little bit more, and like so. And I don't think I'm gonna have an issue with that. If I see that, this is already maxed out, 750 watt, then I get another power supply. Also, power supplies are capable of giving more power than what they are rated for. Way more power, actually. So I don't think it's gonna be an issue at all.
Give it a try, but I think your method how to calculate this is not quite adding up, because you're talking about the power what is consumed by the AC side. So I'm sorry, I'm a technician, but we need to talk about the power what is used on the DC side from the power supply. So because you're just using 600 watt doesn't mean the GPU or your power supply has another 150 watt reserve or whatever. You know what I mean? You have the 12 volt DC supply for your motherboard, for your mainboard, and hard drive and whatsoever, and also the 12 volt PC. Right. What is the name for the plugs? That's also a 12 volt 30 amp line or whatever. If this is already 30 amp,
you're right.
Yeah, you get my point. Give it a try, but I would be.
Yeah, you're right. But here's the thing: my power supply actually has 4 PCI Express outputs. So if it comes with 4, they are meant to be used at its full capabilities. So it has to work. Let's see. But you're right.
Give it a try. What can happen? You buy a new power supply plus mainboard plus everything, because everything poof.
Worst case scenario, the whole PC explodes and Gamer Nexus will buy my PC and my YouTube channel is gonna go up. So
that's right. Let's find out what 5090 cost.
May I ask a silly question, and excuse my lack of understanding? So graphics card price is similar to, say, iPhones. Every time a new graphics card comes out, the previous model goes down in price, basically in step. Is that how it works, or no?
Usually, but it will not happen because the Nvidia knows that gamers know that the 4090 is actually in between the 5080 and the 5090. So pricing wise, it will stay at like $1,600-$1,800. It's not gonna go down significantly. They know that gamers know that the 4090 is actually better than the 5080 a little bit. Yeah. It has more VRAM too, so it's not gonna go below $1,000. It will not happen.
That's the biggest problem what I have with the 5080, because 16 gigabyte of VRAM. If they would put 24 gig in, then I think it would be interesting to think about this card, because we're still talking about, you can buy 2 5080 for 1 5090 here in Australia. That's ridiculous. This is crazy. This is just stupid, and whatever. Where should I start? The prices here are just way too much, And I did last time I did a little bit of digging after we talked actually about prices and whatsoever, and I compared US with Australia in terms of living of costs and average income and stuff like that. With all this stuff, we are not far away. You know, it's very. I mean, it really depends what job you got. You know, it's always like that. You know, but you can earn the same money what we earn here in Australia, but you pay half the price for all these gadgets. You know, this is just we're living in. I need to move. I need to move.
I mean, the US is amazing. That's USA.
No. No, it's
It is
nice here. We have
amazing.
nice beaches. That's why we pay more. And we have kangaroos.
That's true. I will say, though, my observations from the CES footage that I am seeing, it certainly does look like the PC market industry is driving everything. It's starting to push TVs. You know, you go back 3-4 years ago, TVs weren't really caring too much about, you know, all this high-end stuff, and now we're going 120 hertz, 144, 165, and like I can only imagine the next few years it's going to start scratching the 200 plus refresh rates, and it looks amazing what the PC industry is doing to the rest of the market. They're just pushing the boundaries and at a very high cost. But I will be excited to see when a lot of that stuff can kind of trickle down and get a little bit cheaper for the general consumers in the TV space, at least.
I hope so too, because I want more. I am not going back from the TV size. I will never go back to like a small monitor for gaming because the immersion is better.
Never.
But it would be so awesome to have a TV imagine an OLED TV that's 500 hertz right now. I think that would sell out like crazy, and Samsung could do it. They don't do it because they don't want to.
Because they need to sell every year something. You know, we talked about this already.
Well, there was a comment that came up earlier before I highlighted it, but we did not discuss it. And it was basically insinuating that they spoon feed us every year. And that's kind of how I feel this year. It's like they give us a 5-10% improvement, but they charge us the full price every year. You know, you're looking at least in Australia, like I said, the 83-inch OLEDs, whether it's an LG or a Samsung, not to change from PC to TVs, but, you know, they're roughly 10,000 Australian dollars every year, you know. And so if you're buying, like Marcus got a very cheap G465, and now I'm looking at the prices of those 83s and they're considerably dropping. And so it's like, it does raise the point, which is why I was asking about the graphics cards. Do you buy kind of the top one at the end of its cycle, or do you spend that huge chunk of money to get that small increase?
But that's the thing, you know, in terms of graphic cards, because I'm into PC stuff or whatever, there's not much difference. Here in Australia, there's almost no difference between day one and end of life, to be honest. Sometimes end of life, it's even higher because they are now, you know, when it came to, so with Bitcoin farming and whatsoever, at the end, actually, the older cards increased in price like crazy because with the newer generation, you were not able anymore to farm Bitcoin. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy here.
Let me get this comment here from Bruno. He's very very smart. So I've searched many of his comments on the channel. And he knows a lot. So here's what he's saying. If it is 80% efficiency at max and nominal output of 750, it is safe to assume AC from the plug consumption of 930 watts. So yeah, I know it should be possible. Of course, I will end up buying a more powerful power supply because it's just $150 or something like that, and the GPU is $2,000. So it makes sense. But yeah, for now, I think I have to do it without the power supply because I don't want to expend the extra on the power supply.
That's wild, man. We're getting to the point where PC power supplies are going to be pulling a kilowatt. I don't know if they're already there.
Oh, we're already there.
That's insane, man. That's so much energy.
Yeah, I mean that's really true. I mean, look, I have a battery, you know, a home battery at home, and it's as soon I'm doing some video editing or testing or whatsoever, within a couple of hours, I mean, it takes 5, 6, 7 hours, but then my battery is drained. because you have two PCs running, you have the TV running, maybe the aircon, you know what I mean? It's like crazy. You use a lot of energy, but I'm not giving up my hobby. Nah.
We have a super chat here.
Oh, thank you very much, buddy. Buddy, $3 or $5. Thank you very much. Nvidia recommends. Yeah, okay. They're going safe, of course. So I think for my 4080, which I have here, I used it with a 750 watt power supply in the beginning without any issue. But because I'm a little bit, concerned and stuff like that, and I know I'm going to upgrade this type of PC anyway, so I put in a 1200 watt power supply at some point, just to be on the safe side. It doesn't use 1200 watt, of course, but just to be on the safe side.
No, it makes sense.
I like to say something. For me, power supply and is the same as when I'm buying new tires for a car. It's the most important part on a PC and also the most important part on a car. Because if you have a crappy power supply, or if you save money on a power supply, you will regret it. I'm pretty sure.
The thing is, Nvidia doesn't know, of course, the rest of your PC. So they have to give you the safe, of course, a safe number. But I have a 5800 X3D, which is very, very, just like 100 watts. So my PC is not actually using a lot of power. I am monitoring it. I know usually what I get. So I think it's going to work. It shouldn't be an issue.
Just make a video. The first time when you turn it on, just make a video from the inside. We like to have some smoke or whatever. Yeah, because this and then Gamer Nexus.
I want to ask a question around DisplayPort. So what is the maximum bandwidth or refresh rate and display resolution on DisplayPort? Because I've got a question about HDMI 2.2 coming through. So what's the difference here? What are we talking?
So you can read the specs on the Nvidia 5090. It's like 4K, 240 hertz. We are not going to get either the display, the HDMI 2.2. We're not getting that on any GPUs. The only improvement we got, so we still have HDMI 2.1 on the 50 series. The only improvement we got on the DisplayPort is now B. So the last letter is B, and the only improvement on that was it's like a protocol to have active, so have the cable having active. Forgot how to say that. So the cable can be longer, basically. So it is a protocol because it is a struggle to get the cable long enough. It's like it cannot be even 3 meters right now or something.
No, DisplayPort is very limited in length.
So what limited. Are we talking? So, what refresh rates? What kind of resolutions and refresh rates can DisplayPort? What is its maximum now?
So with BSC, you can do 480 hertz, 4K, and so that's it with DSC display string compression. But if we get a 1000 hertz display today, it could come with 2 DisplayPorts inputs. And so your GPU, you would have 2 cables into the monitor, and it could work. Actually, we had that happening in the past.
So it would aggregate two lanes into one, so to speak. It would send half down each pipe, so to speak.
Yeah, we had that in the past, so it could happen.
Right, because I'm trying to understand, and this is leading to my comment earlier, I feel like the PC industry is really pushing the rest of the industry because, in my personal opinion, I feel like HDMI 2.2 is a little bit unnecessary, considering TVs aren't really going past 8K, and what little 8K displays we have, there is no 8K content, therefore there's, and 2.1 has enough bandwidth to do 8K at high refresh rates, and it's like, well, why are we kind of pushing this new standard through when there's not really a need for it, at least on the consumer TV side, if that makes sense?
Well, no, but the thing is the order in which we progress. I think it is super necessary right now with the 50 series. You can get 8K 120. That's not good enough. That's almost like you're not seeing the 8K difference with just 120. You need more than that. So we definitely need better. So So again, when you get the announcement, HDMI 2.2, that doesn't mean that you will immediately get the GPUs with 2.2 in the displays, but it will happen eventually. And we need
but
it.
You know, they need to sell stuff. You know, there's this. I think the biggest industry in terms of HDMI is the receiver section. You know, because they like to sell new AV receivers for really good money. You know, and upgrading them to HDMI 2.2. You know, and you get more sales.
Yeah, you're right. I did overlook that because I'm not a PC gamer. I don't think 8K 60 plus is necessary. But yeah, if you've bought a big 85-inch 8K TV, you've bought the new graphics card, I guess you're going to want to crank high resolutions with high refresh rates. So yeah, I guess it's just another thing we have to buy. So if you've got a brand new G5 this year, it's already outdated. 2.1.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Here's the thing. Yeah, you're right. But here's the thing. For 8K especially, you need more frames. You need a higher refresh rate. Otherwise, you don't see the benefit. So for more pixels, for a higher, for more pixels and a higher screen size, bigger screen size, more pixels, you need more frames, because with a bigger screen size, you have more pixels per degree of view. So the motion becomes worse. Example, the motion on your phone looks more fluid than the motion on your big TV. Everyone can notice that. 60 FPS on your phone looks better than 60 FPS on the TV. So the bigger the TV, 8K, especially for that, you need, like, in my opinion, 240 hertz minimum for 8K to shine. Bare minimum. So I would say for 8K to really be like incredible, 1000 hertz. So I would say 500 would be good, 1000 would be incredible, more than 1000 would be like mind blowing. So
now let's talk about Switch 2. We have the new announcement, 30 FPS. Oh, it's crazy. So I have a question. It's a EU Tiger. Samsung could technically put DisplayPort 2.1 into a TV range, 4K 500 hertz or whatever. So why we are not seeing any DisplayPorts on TV? Is it mainly just because we don't need it, or is it really also because of the cable length, which is really limited a little bit compared to HDMI? I mean, I'm not missing DisplayPort on a TV, to be honest, because all the graphic cards have HDMI and it's exactly the same signal. It's doing exactly the same. You know what I mean? There's no difference.
Yeah, but I think it would be awesome. These TV companies, they know gamers are buying the big TVs, so they should definitely add DisplayPort. It would sell TVs basically for gaming.
Okay. Yeah. So we have another super chat from Miguel. Where is it? Can't find it. Here we are. Can you explain what impact? So first of all, thank you very much. Can you explain what impact such a high 400 hertz refresh rate would have on image quality? In my uniformed opinion, I like max setting 4K 120. If you can do it, why do we need more hertz?
So we need more hertz. Of course, input lag is going to be better if you can get those frames. But motion clarity is the main reason. So motion clarity with sample and hold displays, well, in general, motion clarity is limited by persistence based on the Blur-Buster's law. Persistence is the pixel visibility time. So with sample and hold displays, the pixel visibility time is equal to the frame time. So the frame time is based on the refresh rate of the display. So let's say you have 480 hertz. What is the frame time? If you calculate that, is 1 over 480 multiplied by 1000, that's 2 milliseconds. So 2 milliseconds of frame time, 2 milliseconds of persistence, okay? 2 milliseconds of persistence is equal to 2 pixels of motion blur when moving at 1000 pixels per second. That's the Blur-Buster's law. So what that means, because that might be like, whoa, what is this guy talking about? What that means is you have to understand the speed measured in pixels per second. You have pixels on your screen. How many horizontal pixels you have on a 4K screen? We have 3,840 pixels, 4,000 approximately. So if you have 4,000 pixels horizontally for an object that's moving from left to right to take 4 seconds, you need 1,000. So basically, if the object is moving at 1,000 pixels per second and you have 4,000 pixels, it's going to take 4 seconds to go from left to right. That's very slow. So if you have the UFO test moving and it takes 4 seconds, when you're playing the game, you're actually moving faster than that.
Yeah,
Well,
course, yeah.
for that to look perfectly clear, you need 1,000 hertz. And that's not even moving fast. So to move twice as fast, so to take 2 seconds to go from left to right, which would be 2,000 pixels per second, you need 2,000 hertz. And 2 seconds is not fast either. For 1 second, you need 4,000 hertz. So that's why we need more, a higher refresh rate. To basically, the ideal thing is that at your maximum eye tracking speed, so let's say you're tracking an object moving left to right, it's going so fast that you would not be able to eye track it anymore. At that maximum eye tracking speed, which depends on the person, you want 1 pixel of motion blur, which means half a pixel at the trailing edge and half a pixel of motion blur at the leading edge. That is considered perfect at a normal viewing distance, okay? So you're gonna need a lot of kilohertz for that, because you can definitely eye track an object that's moving, like taking a quarter of a second to go from left to right, especially with a big TV.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at the 8090 in a couple of years.
Ariel, you're next level, man. But I'm very well explained. That's very, very interesting.
Thank you very much again, Miguel.
Go ahead. I was just going to ask, go down a little bit further on this. I'm not sure if you guys caught the HDMI 2.2 press conference. Did you guys manage to see this?
No. No,
so,
no time in a couple of last.
I just watched the hardware unbox video, but that would be good to cover.
Okay, so basically there is some video online of a full presentation where it's, as you can see, it's about 25 minutes long, and they go through the full HDMI 2.2 specifications. I can share the link in the chat if you guys like. So they discuss like the new bandwidth. They get quite nitty gritty, go down into the details. So it's a significant jump in bandwidth, which is why I was earlier saying, I was just kind of asking where DisplayPort is and how it would compare to 2.2. As I said, it's fairly comprehensive. So this might suit you, Ariel, to go into it a bit later. But one thing in particular I was kind of interested in, it was around I think it was the refresh rates. What's that? So they're talking about all these new cables. There it is. So that's the refresh rates. Apologies if I can find it. It was just there. Yes, so that's what they're talking about now. So they're the new standards that this cable is looking to implement, which is pretty nutty, man. 4K at 480 hertz on a home consumer television. That is absolutely spastic. Really cool. So I guess,
Sorry, it is exactly double what we have now.
Precisely.
Double.
Yep. Yeah. So I won't stay on this too long, but would you like me to post the link to this in the chat?
Yeah, go ahead.
As I said, it's fairly comprehensive. So it is the actual video of the press conference where they announced the new standard, and they go into a fair bit of detail. So I can share that now.
That's perfect. So so we need probably maybe new cables? ? Maybe.
Yes, we need new cables. It will require new cables. It will be the same
100%.
shape. It will be the same shape. So it is backwards compatible, but we will need a new cable.
Okay, let's see. Okay, anyway, I mean, until we see HDMI 2.2 coming up, it will take some years, you know what I mean, before we really fully integrate it. And then they're going to announce HDMI 2.3 already.
Yeah, well, I guess my point is that these new TVs coming out, these G5 and S95F, they're already behind. You know what I mean? But so what are the refresh rates this year? 165 hertz.
Yeah, 165. A very odd number. I don't know why.
But is that enough for you, Ariel? I feel like
yes,
you need V8 twin turbo.
So let me tell you, it's very simple to think about it this way. 120 hertz, you get 8 pixels of motion blur when moving at 1000 pixels per second. So 4 seconds from from left to right on a 4K screen, 4 seconds, the UFO test, you get 8 pixels of motion blur if you have 120 hertz sample and hold. If you get 144, you get 7 pixels of motion blur. 165, you get 6 pixels of motion blur. So you see what they're doing? They're just a little bit more, one by one, they're giving you all the performance one by one.
But I believe if you think they couldn't have offered 165 a couple of years ago, I think you're crazy, because they have to have something held back for every year. There was 120, and then it was like, look, it went from 120 from the C9 all the way to the G3, and then all of a sudden G4 144, G5 165. Like, so they're doing these jumps. I feel like they held that 165 back so they had something to give additional this year, because if you don't throw something new, a newer, bigger number, and you're charging the full price, it's just not making sense.
Still interesting if they can't do it right now, because that's the only difference, actually the biggest difference compared to the PC monitor market, the refresh rate. And what is the difference, when you have an LG panel, OLED panel for 80 hertz, and we have those panels, so what's the difference to a TV panel? I can't think about anything, because it's the same. It's just a different size.
Yeah.
So I think that's really what they're doing at the moment. So just, step by step.
Yeah, they're spoon feeding us. They're giving us drip by drip to keep us buying, because you think every year the G series or the high-end Samsung OLEDs, they always drop by 30 to 40% right before the new model comes out. And so then they give you an extra 5% increase on performance, and then they charge you the full price every year. So it's just how they keep banking money. But here's a super chat.
Thank you very much, Jimmy Harrison. Marcus, Layman, Ariel, always good to see you guys. Please continue the streams. Big support of all you guys here. Yeah.
Let's go.
You.
Make the stream big again. Huh? What?
Thank you very much.
Anything? Thank you so much, Jimmy.
Thanks, man.
Yes, we like to do this. Talking about stuff we know we don't have any idea.
Yeah, it is definitely... it's obvious that these companies are not giving us their best. Obviously, they do not give you the best they can. So because and the proof is very simple. We have different technologies, QD OLED, WRGB, 4-stack, whatever. Don't you find very weird that the TVs have the same brightness? Like, it's just the same brightness, same refresh rate. It's like if they are. It's like they communicate with each other and they say, okay, this is how much we're going to give people this year, It's not the same as petrol stations, They're not talking to each other at all. It's like...
It's by law forbidden here in Australia as well, by the way, yeah? Petrol station, they're not allowed to talk to each other. But doing it anyway. Anyway, that's the same with all the companies. It doesn't matter if this is... You don't think that Microsoft and Sony... Or Microsoft didn't know that Sony is doing a PlayStation 5 Pro before anyone else knew this?
Of course.
You don't think they're talking to each other and trying to balance how to get the maximum profit out of us? You really think oh my God, you must be living behind a stone, a rock, or whatever. No, that's how it works. Really, absolutely.
And the thing with displays is you never have the perfect display for you. I mean, I think my perfect display is possible today, and they will not give it to me. If you go to the monitors, then you have significantly less peak brightness for HDR for some reason. Maybe it is a limitation of the screen size, but I think they can do a lot better than 400 nits. Come on. I mean, it's like...
Of course they can.
Yeah.
So, but they don't for some reason. So if you want high refresh rate, you need to get a monitor. If you want better HDR, you need to get a TV.
Because they're saving something for next year. That's why.
Yeah.
So the only thing what I'm getting out of this stream at the moment is that we need higher refresh rate, or we sit not too close to the screen.
Yeah, I think we need higher refresh rate. We definitely need multiple frame generation. We definitely need that.
So, I can't remember where I saw this video, but he compared frame generation on the 40 cards. Oh, I can't remember. And I saw, the thing is, because we're always talking about input lag, but there was a game, I think it was Cyberpunk, running with a very low frame rate without frame generation. And because very low frame rate, of course, the latency is very high. Okay? So he measured latency as well, and it was 50, 60 milliseconds or whatsoever. He turned on frame generation, had 3 times more frames, and also 3 times less latency. Obviously, because the frame is now higher. But is this comparable, or is this something? Is there another part what we have missed? Because if you're making fake frames, it takes processing time or not. So why is it now suddenly much better? I understand it that you have low frame rate, you have a high. That's how it is. You can test this, But as soon, of course, you put you have higher frame rate and you have fake frames, it really looks better and it feels better. But what are we missing here?
I think what we're missing is that they are using upscaling. When you see Nvidia showing you 20 frames on the left side and on the right side, like 300 frames, something like that, the main thing is that they are increasing the base frame rate using upscaling. That's the thing. So you no longer have 20 frames. Now you have like 60, and then you're using frame generation. You cannot use frame generation from 20 frames because the artifacts are gonna be awful. So that's how they arrived to the conclusion of 16 times the details, the pixels. You're doing first. Let's say you're multiplying your performance by 2 when you are going from 1080p. So 1080p to 4K, that's 2x, and then you are quadrupling with frame generation. So that's your 16 times the pixels.
So I'm sorry,
4x. I'm sorry, 4x for the scaling and 4x for the frame generation. That's your 16 times.
Yeah. So another super chat. Thank you very much, Face. He's sticking with the G4 with this old crap TV, really. No, you're absolutely correct. I mean, look, G4 here, and Adam has a G4. Again, I'm getting so many comments actually when I announced I bought the G4. Oh, why are you doing this? The G5 is coming. And my only response is always, first of all, absolutely fantastic price. I didn't think about it twice, to be honest. And then, yes, G5 is better without a doubt. And then the G6 comes, the G7, G8, and so on and so on. So you will be never on top. That's how it is. You know what I mean? And I think we should go back a little bit and think about buying last-gen products with all the bug fixes and stuff like that, enjoy this, and then wait until the next gen is improved, and then we can buy it for a better price. You know what I mean? So if you like to stay on top all the time, you have to buy day one. Yeah, but you always spend so much money, and I don't know. So right now I'm just a year behind. You know what I mean? When the G6 comes up, maybe I consider the G5. For the same price, for half of the price of the G6, there must be such a huge lead between TVs or whatsoever that I would consider right now to buy it day one, to be very honest. But it will not happen. Thank you very much.
Actually, do you mind if I share an image? Actually, go ahead with this.
Yeah, go for it. Okay, yeah, go for it. So again, we need to figure out what StreamYard is doing, because this is stupid with the comments. But anyway, Marcus, AWALL micro LED displays, 81 inches, 10K US dollars with 3,600 hertz. I believe the display world will change dramatically in the next 5 years. This can happen, yeah. I don't see OLED being a thing anymore with such low prices MLE. I mean, yes, and thank you for that, then. Thank you very much.
But let me say something about that refresh rate. The marketing for those TVs is movie studios that they are filming the TV. So I actually made a video about it. And it was like 7,600 hertz, something like that, what they are advertising. But that is not actually the refresh rate of the display. What that means is that it's not going to flicker on camera. So if you are recording a display, you have a massive display that they are using for CGI and all of that stuff. When you're recording it with a camera, especially when you increase the shutter speed, you will see flickering on the display. You will start to see some lines. So those displays don't show that. And that's their selling point. That's one of their biggest selling points. But it is misleading. It is not actually refreshing that much because obviously we don't have a port. HDMI 2.2 cannot do that. So it's not.
Yeah, makes sense. So Bruno, what is so? I mean, I understand that the higher the resolution is, the closer you need to sit to actually see the better resolution. But what is the H stands for after the number? What is H? So I mean, so I don't know what this in technical terms is, the H, to be honest. But anyway, so yes, this is something what we need to consider as well, you know, because everybody is now talking about 8K is coming and refresh rate. But then you get a 55-inch OLED TV and you sit 7 meters away, you know, and it doesn't make sense, you know.
But another thing, we need 8K for glassless 3D because when you use 3D, you cut your resolution in half. Your vertical resolution.
This makes sense.
So you can actually get 4K out of 8K.
This makes sense. This makes sense. Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to jump on a comment here. So Anthony Ramos said, Marcus, your G4 versus C10 versus G2 was good. Don't apologize for buying. And so your comment you just made before about how people were criticizing you for purchasing the G4. I just want to highlight something. And as I said, hopefully I don't come across, and you guys have to let me know, I'm not trying to be negative when I say these things. I'm just trying to be critical and try to analyze it. And I'm not against a lot of this stuff. I don't know. Some people have said I come across as negative. It's certainly not my intention. But just looking at so if I go over here, so this is the screen I'm sure we've all seen now of the new WOLED panel versus the old versus the new. So as you can see here on the left, the color spectrum, there's not as much separation, which was originally, I guess, the main reason QD-OLED was so good. So from the beginning, if I can, sorry, I'm clicking on the wrong thing. If we go over to QD-OLED, as you can see, the reason why QD-OLEDs are so good is they've been able to separate the colors, the spectrum so much more, so you can really get those individual colors without any washout or any overlap. So as you can see here now with the primary RGB tandem panel is what they're calling it, you can see they've actually separated the colors a lot more. If you judge from the left where the green and the red are, there seems to be a lot more. I wouldn't say it's as defined as QD-OLED.
No, it's still not close.
That's look, I would say it's a lot closer, but you're right. Like, it's not QD-OLED, but I guess leading back to that G4 purchase and people criticizing you have to remember, like, I think I'm on board with Marcus, unless you've got cash to burn and you must have the best display every year, you are spending a lot of money. Do it. That's fine. Like, I'm not against that. If I had unlimited cash, I would be buying it every damn year, but I have to be realistic. But I guess my point is that even though you're buying a G4 at the end of the life cycle and this G5 is a better display, it's like, is it really that bad of an idea to buy a high-end panel at the end of its life cycle? I don't think,
absolutely not.
If you got that, let's say you got 30, 40% off the price, do you think 30, 40% extra money is worth that little additional performance increase? If you get my point. Is that coming across? Am I making sense?
That's the point. That's the point. That's the full point, you know, that so and I made this also, I said this already in a stream. If it's not so, because I like to push my YouTube channel, of course, you know, getting more content and whatsoever, and whatever is necessary to make those contents, I would need to buy, because otherwise you can't do content anymore, you know. So, and if it is necessary to get a 5090, then I would buy a 5090. But if it's not, then not. You know what I mean? So PlayStation 5 Pro was for my channel necessary. I made tons of videos. I got a lot of views and stuff like that. It makes sense, but I made it very clear. No point for me to upgrade if I'm just a casual gamer. You know what I mean? And people got mad as well with this comment, because it's always, you know, people buying the G5, people going to buy the G5, spending in Australia over $5,000. That's what it's going to happen for a 65-inch version. And then, of course, some of the people are like we are. We can distinguish between criticism and hype and stuff like that. And we pointing out stuff what we don't like. I pointed out so many times I'm not happy with the panel uniformity. Out of the box, it was terrible. Now it's on a level where I can live with it, but it's still not a high-end panel, in my opinion, just focusing on this part. Okay? So some people are not capable of taking criticism if they already paid so much money. It will be the same with the 5090.
But I want to say something that for me, the biggest difference is, like you were saying, GPUs, they hold their value for the entirety of the generation. You're not going to see a huge price reduction, even after 2 years. Sometimes it goes up, which is crazy. But TVs, they drop in price dramatically. In my opinion, TVs are super overpriced when they release. And you can get them for less than half.
That's what I did with the G4, less than half.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's the point. That's the point. So it even was better. The offer what I got was better than on the Black Friday offer.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So why would I pay then or wait for a G5, which obviously will be better? There's no doubt about that. But again, we talked about this, Adam, and you made it clear. It's a 5, maybe 10% increasement in terms of, the thing is I have people on my CX is gone now. Okay, I had to sell my CX or give it away to my CX because my wife told me if I'm buying a new TV, one of the TV has to go. Fair enough. When I showed my DCX to her brother, because he got the TV, he was like, "Oh my God, this is a great picture." And I was like, "Fucking hell, this is 4 years old, 5 years old. This is such a great TV." You know what I mean? No point to upgrade. Anyway, let me thank you very much here. 5070, thank you very much. Not equivalent to a 4090, the using DLSS 4. Thank you very much. We talk about this in a second again.
Yeah, that leads me back to your video, all the OLEDs compared to each other. And again, you said you basically got the G4 for less than half the price of what it was when it was brand new. And again, to reiterate that point, okay, we're getting a small increase, but if you have to have the G5, then you're saving 50% on a previous gen television. And if for the people who have watched your video, which I did quite closely, I got smashed on one live stream because I kept saying when I purchased my 83-inch C1 and I went to my G5, I was expecting like a mind-blowing improvement, and I didn't get it. Yeah, the G5 is better in many, many, many ways, but was it 60% more value? Did you get what I'm saying? Is it worth 60% more money? I still use my C1 just as much as my G4. And that's, I guess my point is, when I keep saying, you've got to wait at least 5 years, in my opinion, to get a significant upgrade if you care about value for money. Obviously, there are improvements, but it's just interesting how many people will just, like when they hit on you for that G4, I think that's a very silly argument.
No, because I wouldn't say, they're not, I get their point, but I also, what I don't understand sometimes, this counts for all the comments, they don't get your point. You know what I mean? I get what they're talking about. Yes, you like to have the best of the best of the best. Don't get me wrong, go for it. Day one, you have to buy day one. But then you pay the highest price for this little increasement. So if you just wait, if you're able to wait 1 year, just 1 year, you're always 1 year behind. You're always 5 to 10% behind, but you're much richer. That's the point.
Yeah, and I think it's also an interesting balance between, say, Ariel, Marcus, and I, where Ariel is like hyper technical. Marcus, you're still extremely technical, and I, because my tag is layman, I try to simplify everything on my channel. We all come from different directions, and I think we all have extremely valid points. And I think from my perspective, because my channel is primarily focused on less technical, but try to explain things to people. My perspective is generally trying to make sure you get the most value for your money, even though there are differences. But Ariel, something's on the tip of your tongue. I'll let you go, man.
No, I just wanted to say that I want people to have clear that the G5 is still a WRGB OLED. And I was confused when I saw the Panasonic marketing with all the videos because they were mentioning RGB, RGB. No, it's a new thing, RGB. And then I'm like, is this like,
yeah, it was the same. New RGB panel, really?
That would be awesome.
Wait a moment. Yeah.
And no, this four stack is like what's behind, but really you still have WRGB. It's the same color science still.
Yeah, but so they can't call it RGB. It's wrong.
I think it's misleading. I think it is misleading because it's still a WRGB. Now, I think I actually like the G5 idea a lot. I like it because we're going back to the same black look that your G2 has, which is great. We've talked about it. I like that a lot. Just going back to what makes these LG OLEDs so awesome, in my opinion. You look at them, even on a bright room, it's like a black screen and a mirror. I love that. And I think we might actually get an improvement on the color gamut. If it can be, let's say, 83% BD 2020 coverage, it is not 90 or 91 from QD OLED, but that's gonna be nice. I hope it's like 85% of BD 2020, so we're gonna actually see an improvement in the color gamut with a higher brightness and color volume.
So just spoiler alert, my next video will be a G4 versus S95C. And I can already hear people, why are you comparing with S95C? You need to compare with S95D. I don't have the S95D, okay? That's what I can do. My goodness. And I still had complaints, some, not many, but they said, why are you comparing a CX to a G4? Yeah, because I can. That's why. And it makes sense.
It's valid. It's valid. Yeah.
Why are we always comparing G4 versus G5? There will be not much of a difference. You need to compare with TVs what people having and they're thinking about upgrade. Yeah, you know what I mean.
I personally believe that video did a huge service to the community because it's showing TVs 5 years apart and one in the middle, and it's showing you like, okay, look, there are improvements, but even from your C10 to the G4, okay, it was generally my biggest thing was brightness. You know,
it is brightness.
But there's processing and a few different things, colors, but it's still very incremental. If you gave someone that C10 and they were like, holy crap, this is an amazing TV. So that's the thing. The OLED is so good. Once you hit an OLED, it takes a lot to get a significant performance increase.
So, and the thing is, I need to make sure, and hopefully a lot of people hearing this. So filming or recording TVs with a camera is a very hard task. I don't know. I spent hours to find the right setting. So I took the G4 and I did test shots and I compared, and because the problem is the brightness. Okay, so I tried. So the video was recorded in SDR for a reason, because the HDR functionality on my camera is actually worse than the SDR in dynamic stops. If you're now familiar with cameras and whatever, so the dynamic stop range on my camera in SDR is actually better than in HDR. That's how it is. You know, I would need to have a better camera. Full stop. Anyway, the problem is if a TV gets bright and the camera is not adjusting correctly or whatever, so very bright colors getting diluted, very simple. So especially red and yellow, whatever, looking whitish then. So that means if you're really not taking care or be careful and you're recording something, I can make the G4 look worse than the CX if I want to. No problem at all. So it took me more. Yeah.
What did you do? Did you record it 3 separate shots and then you edited together?
Yes, 3 separate shots. Because at the end, it wouldn't be there wouldn't be a difference, because you need to focus on one TV. So I'm not using any auto settings or whatsoever on the camera. It's all manually dialed in. And the reason is very simple. Because if you would use auto settings, the camera would always try to do something. And again, if you have auto settings and you're recording the CX and then the G4, you will end up with more or less the same picture. And the reason why I did this with manual settings, that you can at least see the real brightness difference. And I have to tell you, your eyes still seeing the different. It will be different with your eyes because of the spectrum what your eyes can receive, the spectrum of the colors and stuff like that. The camera is not even close to our eye. Never ever. The real world difference between the CX and the G4 is bigger than what you can see on the camera. But I tried my very best to give you at least
Great job, man. It was fantastic. I was thinking that the whole time.
I'm just telling you, it takes a long time.
But sorry, you said you were going to give away something like about the S95C and compare it with the.
I will compare the G4 with the S95C with the same maybe with different games or whatever.
You said spoiler alert. What
spoiler alert. This will be my next video, but I'm working on it, and I will dial the G4 in again a little bit better with my camera. So just the camera setting will change, not the G4 settings, just to make that clear. But I like to see the difference because I still have the S95C as my main TV, and I'm absolutely blown away. And I just hope that this time I'm focusing more on colors, not on brightness, because that's the biggest advantage from the S95C, but I'm not sure if the camera actually can catch this. That's the thing.
We've just got a few super chats here for you, gentlemen. So, Buddy 305 Love, I want manufacturers to go back to releasing TVs every 2 to 3 years. Give them time to give us meaningful upgrades. That would be absolutely perfect, but that would mean they only get to sell you a TV every 2 to 3 years rather than suckers like us who want to buy it every year. But that would be perfect.
Yeah.
But I think that might not be good for pricing because we're getting the good deals with the TVs because, last year's TV, that's crap, a perception of the public. And it's actually almost the same. So that's the advantage of getting a TV every year. You're actually getting almost the same, but for less than half the price. So that might be better. What I would like from these TV companies is to bring back 3D. It has to come back. Why not? 3D is awesome, especially if we can do simulated 3D. And now we have technology to do glassless 3D, which would be absolutely amazing for gaming. On reviewers, when a reviewer is going to tell you this TV is awesome, what do they say? Oh, it looks like 3D. Well, let's get the real thing. Let's get actually 3D. So let's bring that back. And of course, let's bring back more of what LG was doing with the C9, CX, C1 with BFI. It's not really BFI. This, OLED Motion Pro that they had, that has to come back. If the G5 had the same feature that my C1 has, I would buy it. I would be so excited to get the G5 because it would be absolutely amazing for that technology. So much brighter. It would be just amazing. And LG, for some reason, they forgot about it. And it's not coming back. Sony, for example, I tested an LCD Sony TV that was looking at just 60 FPS like a CRT in motion. It was that good. Absolutely insane. 3 times better than my LG C1 with OLED Motion Pro High at just 60 FPS and LCD. Absolutely incredible. Why Sony has the Bravia 9 and doesn't come even close to the motion that they already had with a much older TV. Why is that happening? Why are we losing features and losing qualities on these TVs?
So next year they can sell you the Bravia 10 and it'll include that feature.
I would buy it. It would be just absolutely insane. I'm telling you, that feature on the Bravia 9 would be mind-blowing. And it would be amazing for gaming. And it would be the main selling point of that TV. Let me tell you, gamers, when they try that technology that Sony knows how to do very well, they're going to be blown away. You don't need frame generation. You don't need a new GPU, nothing. 60 FPS, it looks like a CRT and call it a day. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And they don't do it for some reason.
So let's go to the next super chat. Thank you very much, Miguel. I'm thinking of buying a PC soon. What graphic cards will give me a max setting 4K 120 Hz on Cyberpunk, for example? Also, what's the best OLED for this? How much money do you have to spend?
Yeah.
That's the question. I don't know how much money you have to spend. Get a 5090 and an LG G4 with 83-inch. It's very hard to, you know what I mean? If you like the best, then you have to go with the best. I don't know what to recommend here.
Well, here's the thing. You're saying max settings.
Yeah.
There are some people who want to see all the eye candy. You need to get the 5090. What am I going to say? Even with the 5090, you max out Cyberpunk, and you are not getting 120 frames per second with the game max out with resolution too. Because I saw for example, I saw the Linus hands-on on the 5090 video. And when he showed the settings, which I really appreciate that they showed the settings, that's absolutely amazing. So thanks for that opportunity. It was DLSS performance, okay? That makes absolutely no sense. I am not buying the 5090 to play with DLSS performance. I'm sorry. You don't spend $2,000 to play at 1080p. I don't care how good the upscaling is or the frame generation. That makes no sense, okay? So the thing is, even with the 5090, I am not going to max out the settings on a game like Cyberpunk because I prefer more pixels and more clear image than upscaling from 1080p. So I'm going to try, first of all, to eliminate all the ugliness. If I don't have to use frame generation, I will not use it. I prefer real frame. If I don't have to do upscaling, I will not do upscaling because it looks better. So I am not going to downgrade the clarity of the game to get the ray tracing, the path tracing, all that. Every pixel is ray traced. Yeah, but you're playing at 1080p, man. That makes no sense. You're spending $5,000 on a gaming PC and your TV to play at 1080p. So as to answer the question of the PC, I would recommend you bare minimum get the 5070 Ti. I think it's not terrible. It makes sense. 12 gigabytes is not optimal, but I think the price is okay if you can get it for that price. And get something better or equal to the 5800X 3D. I have that CPU, and I can get the frame rate I need for all the games. And then you use frame generation, then it becomes irrelevant if you do. So I will be bare minimum, but if you can get something better, that would be great. Now, for TV, for display, I think Samsung S90C or S90D, if you can get them for cheap, that's where it's at. I got a Samsung S90C 65 inches for $1,000. QD OLED that's 65 really inches. Crazy. That's absolutely insane. I also got the S90D 65 inches for $1,200. So that's on the US. You can get these deals. That's where I would go. Samsung is the price is so good. It just and QD OLED
makes sense. Another super chat. Thank you very much, guys, for all the super chats today. It's crazy. Valentine.
Huh? I said, Marcus, can I have meat tonight?
That's just once a month. Hey guys,
so let me answer this one.
Yes, hey guys.
Not sure Reflex 2 will mitigate 100% the increased latency from 4x frame generation. 5090 Founders Edition design is bonkers. Let me say this. I am buying the Founders Edition of the 5090. I watched a video from Derbauer. Derbauer is, a YouTuber. He's already working for one of these companies for, I think it's, I forgot the name of the company, for thermal paste and all that. And he knows a lot. He was analyzing the cooler of the 5090, and he said that was the most expensive cooler because the fins to dissipate the heat, they are different. And he knows about the machinery behind designing those coolers because he has been on the factory. And he was like, Nvidia probably had to buy like 56, I think he said, I forgot the number, different machines to create the different fin stacks of the 5090. That is stupidly expensive. The design is just mind-blowing. The 5090 cooler, I would be very happy if we can keep the temperature below 80 Celsius. I think it would be insane. Below that, it's just magic. It is so small for the power. That's absolutely incredible. So I'm buying the Founders Edition. I like it a lot. And the thing is, with Reflex 2, I am 100% sure people are going to be blown away with Reflex 2. I already tested this. I'm going to make a video about it because it was a 2-year-old video I made about it, and people might not, they didn't see it at that point. I will analyze it again. There is a demo you can try today on your PC. It is called asynchronous reprojection outside VR. The name of the channel, I forgot. I will share that again. You open this game and you can select 30 FPS, 60 FPS, whatever. If the refresh rate of your monitor is 500 Hertz, you get 500 frames delivered to your display and with perfect input lag. Now, Reflex 2 is not doing the asynchronous reprojection. It's not reprojecting frames, but it is using the input lag benefit of that technology. And I already know how that feels. And let me tell you, it's magic. So once you get the frame gen with Reflex 2, you're gonna be like, holy, what happened here? This is just insane. That is one of the most exciting things, I believe.
Hey,
Well
SB
said.
Digital. All of the three guys are very good at what they do. You have no idea what I'm doing. Thank you very much.
That's a very nice compliment. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I feel it's also, yeah, it's good to highlight we're all coming from very different places, and it's really, I enjoy these conversations to kind of meet in the middle and just to hear the technical explanations and the different perspectives, whether you're looking at price or having the best of the best. So yeah, that's a very, very nice compliment. I really enjoy these conversations.
He also got an S89C for $1,000. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Oh, okay.
Price.
And we have Max Chambliss the second. How are you doing, buddy?
How's it going? Yeah, 3D, man. I'm so excited about that monitor that Samsung announced. But I read a review. I forgot the website, and they said they tested that monitor with lies of P. They tested gaming on that monitor. So they said that it was kind of broken because it was the screen tearing. It was having screen tearing for some reason. So I don't know if that's something that Samsung will fix, or what was the reason why they were getting a screen tearing. You get screen tearing if the FPS drops below the target, but if it has VRR, I'm not sure why would that happen. But yeah, that has me concerned. Before pulling the trigger on that monitor, definitely check out some reviews, but the technology is amazing. Glassless 3D, and it works for all the games. And because it has, of course, AI to give you a simulated 3D. So you get 3D gaming for all the games. But of course, if you open something that's natively supporting 3D, it's going to be better.
A question from Anthony Ramos. Are the raised blacks of QD OLED and the G4 visible in games?
So the panel coding or the reflection handling is definitely, it looks worse on QD OLEDs or the G4 compared to my G2 or the CX, full stop. You know what I mean? So in lighting conditions, the TVs are still better in terms of peak brightness compared to the CX or G2, but the contrast looks better on the CX and G2 if you have a bright room. That's my, it does look better. So as soon you have a cinema room or very light or dim lighting conditions and you watch a movie, there's no difference anymore. It's literally no difference. But as soon you have light coming onto the display, it doesn't look as nice as on other TVs.
Yeah, I find if light is hitting my display, when it's off, I can notice raised blacks. But if I close the window, it looks just as dark as my C1. But when the TV's on, I don't notice raised blacks on my G4 only when the
No,
panel is turned off.
it's not about race blacks. The whole screen is shut. It's not that you have, because I think people misunderstanding this. It's not that you suddenly have race blacks, because this is not possible. It's still OLED, but because where the light hits, it reflects differently. It just brightens up the whole part where the lights hit, compared to a G2 with a glossy finishing. It's just it's sucking in the light and it's displaying. It's like a mirror. Okay, let's say like this. It's a different handling of light. You know what I mean? So the glossy screens what I have, CX and G2 and all that, are very distracting if you have a light source behind you. I mean, you shouldn't have this anyway. Full stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's very distracting. The G4 and the S95C is having a much better handling when it comes to this kind of stuff. But with the downside of brightening up this part like crazy, and it's like this magenta reddish look. So again, this TV, when I turn it off and all the curtains are off, looks ugly compared to my G2, which is in a living room with even brighter. It's even a brighter room, but it looks dark. It looks like, wow, great.
Yeah, but when it's off, so who cares?
I do have to say this detail, I'm sure almost nobody's going to. It's not going to be a problem, but I do have to say, I questioned this myself for the longest time, and I'm like, maybe it's placebo, maybe I am not seeing it right, but I have to say, QD OLED doesn't have the same black level as my C1. It doesn't, even on a dark room. I only see absolutely perfect blacks if I have a completely black screen. As soon as I have anything on the screen, it's no longer black, especially if it is bright. Of course, if it is just shadow detail, it's not a problem. The contrast is there. But for example, if I open a window and the corner of the TV, all the corners of the TV are as bright as it gets, the center is completely black, which is something that I constantly see because I am using a high contrast theme on Windows. So that's how I use my desktop. It is not black. It's not perfectly black. It is not raised. The pixels are not on, of course. But the thing with that QD OLED screen is that as soon as I have enough light on the room for me to be able to see the screen, it doesn't look black. So it is like a paradox. You know it is black, but as soon as you can see it, it's no longer black. That's what I see. But it is not a problem. Don't take me wrong. It's not an issue. It's not going to affect the picture quality at all. But it's not as black. It is not as black as my C1.
Yeah, no,
so
absolutely not.
If I shift gears here, so I actually have a question for both of you. So one of the points on our topic for today, LG or Samsung. So this is for both of you a question. So I have never owned a QD OLED panel. As I have a YouTube channel like you gentlemen, that was my purchase this year. I was like, okay, I need to get hands-on with a QD OLED panel just to experience it. I have the C1, the G1, and the G4. So it's time. But now with the implementation of the G5, and it looks like they may get their colors improved this year, I'm confused, and I'm hoping you guys can. Obviously, it's going to be different once we get hands-on and reviews start coming out. But for someone like me, who I've been dying to try a QD OLED panel, what would you recommend? Because I'm a big fan of LG. Every time I've plugged a Samsung into my home theater setup, HDMI CEC handshake issues, dropouts, just problems the whole way through. As soon as I plug in an LG TV, everything just works perfectly. So that's a big thing for me. But what would you recommend? I want to get the new colors. I want to get that QD taste. Do I just have to go?
I mean, look, it's very simple. If my mom would ask me what TV, I would say get an LG, because again, I told this out of the box experience. You turn it on, all done. You know, you don't need to bother anything. You know, you connect anything, it works, no issues. But in your case, I would just give it a try with Samsung, you know. But the problem is size, you know, because you're not getting a 83-inch QD OLED with a QD panel. That's the problem. Yeah, it's still a WRGB OLED, and then don't get it, because then you get the flaws of Samsung plus on not the best panel.
I'd be looking at 55-inch just for the studio, just so I can have a try.
Yeah. The thing is also, I think that Samsung improved a lot. Coming from the S95B to the C to the D, they're improving a lot more than LG, in my opinion, with all the issues. So because we haven't had any issues in terms of software issues or updates with the S95C. Not at all. S95D, unless I'm wrong or I'm not getting all the news, there's no issues anymore with the out-of-the-box experience, let's say like this, because Ariel said he turned it on and it looks absolutely fantastic. And he tried to get the S90C looking as the S90D. S95D. So it looks like they're doing really a great job to listen to the feedback and stuff like that. And give it a try. So I have a very great hopes for the S95F, to be very honest, because QD OLED compared with, with the better experienced or with the better software now every year and better out of the box experience, Samsung is really a great manufacturer right now, to be honest. Maybe not in terms of sound, but.
And Ariel, I know you're a big supporter of QD OLED. I've watched a lot of your videos and you rave on about it. So I'd love to know what you think.
So I think I would recommend you two options. One, let's wait for the S90F. The S95F is the best panel in the world. Nothing comes even close. It's just absolutely insane, but a matte finish and a One Connect box. So that's a no-go. Samsung just completely ruined the best TV in the world. That's how it goes. Because that S95F is 440 nits full screen. If you go to a service menu, yes, you will not get that out of the box. And almost 4,000 nits peak brightness and a 3% window, 2-3% window. And a 10% window is 2,200 nits. That's absolutely incredible. And we're talking about color. It's not like that is color. It's just absolutely insane. But matte finish, One Connect box, that's a no-break.
I'm never going with a One Connect box ever again. But, I'm done.
So what I would say, let's wait for the S90F, which will have a glossy finish. Most likely the same third generation QD OLED, but my hope is that Samsung will give you more full screen brightness. Hopefully 300 nits. It's possible. They should give you 300 nits. So if it is 300 nits full screen brightness, forget about the peak brightness. We go to the service menu, we increase that. It's not a problem. That would be the TV to get, the S90F. If it is exactly the same as the S90D, limited to 1500 nits peak and 200 nits full screen, don't get the S90D. Instead, if you can get an S90C 77-inch only, because the S90C 77-inch has for sure the 2000 nits panel that is also almost 300 nits full screen. So that would be an upgrade over your G4 in every single way. It's going to be brighter and more colorful. For you, it is going to be a problem if you get the S90D, which is what I got, because it is going to be significantly less brighter full screen, and you're going to feel that downgrade. Now, the colors are going to be amazing, but you don't want to go back in any way. See, when you get a new TV, you want it to be better in everything. You don't want to be trading off anything. So if you don't want to trade off anything, you have to get the S90C 77-inch to have a second-gen panel for sure. Because if you get a smaller screen size, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So that would be my recommendation. Solid. If you can get S90C 77-inch, if not, wait for the S90F and see what is the full screen brightness of the S90F. That's what I would do.
So thank you very much for that. And so leading into that question a bit more, knowing what we know, at least initially, I know we haven't seen deep dives into the G5 and the F series Samsung. What is your thoughts on the new G5 and what they've done with colors?
Awesome.
Do you think
if you get the G5, if you get the G5, should be an upgrade in every single way. It's brighter and more colorful, and it has a better screen coating.
To a QD OLED, do you think that's going to bring them in?
No, I'm not saying it's gonna be better than a QD OLED, but what I'm saying is if you get the G5, you cannot go wrong with that. It looks more black, it has better screen coating, it's gonna be brighter and a little bit more colorful.
I think that's the biggest upgrade, and biggest advantage over the S90F, because the screen is going back to the CX G2,
Yeah.
to the same glossy panel, which is such a big difference. And I was in the very beginning, because I worked so much on PCs, I had always matte screens, you know what I mean? And I said, this is fine, because you don't like to have the distractions and mirroring and whatsoever. But if you compare those two technologies, as clearly glossy is the better thing. Full stop. Is the better.
Why do you believe that Samsung always promote these high peak nit numbers, but don't actually give it to you unless you go into the service menu and pull it out? This is what pisses me off.
Because it is the maximum capability of the panel. That's like, there's two things: Samsung Electronics and Samsung I forgot display again. So one is the one that's advertising that is the one that is making the panel, and it is not their decision what the brightness is going to be for the actual TV. That's why.
And it's the same with spoon feeding. They're just saying, we're capable of doing that, but you're not getting this.
Exactly.
And it's good to see, because so we will see what is the real brightness of the G5 anyway. I don't think we're getting 2400 nits as predicted out of the box. I don't think we have that much of a jump. And don't get me wrong, I like to have it, but we have now 1500 nits on the G4. Why would they now go almost 1000 nits more just with one generation? It doesn't make much sense. So I think they will also just slightly increase it.
It's very deceptive, in my opinion, because then you get people. That's what they want. They want people online talking about these numbers and broadcasting these big kind of statements. But then when it actually lands in your house, you get a very different result.
But actually, one of the main reasons why I like Samsung is because you can go to the service menu and get more brightness. You cannot do that with any other brand.
Yeah.
So you can get a massive improvement on the performance by going to the service menu. That is awesome. That makes Samsung to be the enthusiast TV to get.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for example, Marcus with the S95C, if he goes to the service menu, he's right there with the latest TV right now, almost there. So because you get like 2000 nits peak and 300 nits full screen, almost. Some people say that after a while it's like 275 nits. Some people say 300 nits even out of the box. So that needs to be measured accurately, but it is a lot brighter, full screen. So that's a big difference if you can increase the full screen brightness. So yeah, that's why I like
super chat. Thank you very much, Joe. I have a Samsung G60 SD OLED. Places like Artings recommending using HDR500 because it's more accurate, but others says HDR500 isn't worth it. Why is this? So what do you mean with using HDR500? Is there a mode like a picture setting mode like that?
Yeah, all these TVs are coming with, all these monitors are coming with a 1000 nits mode, with a 500 nits mode. And the thing is that the calibration on the 1000 nits mode sometimes has raised blacks, for example. It's like too bright near black and it looks kind of washed out. So it's just an issue with the calibration. And they have less full screen brightness, for example. So with the HDR 400 or 500, usually on these monitors, you get a little bit less ABL because you have more full screen brightness and less peak brightness. So it looks more consistent and it's better calibrated usually. So that's why.
Yeah. But I have to say, if the maximum peak brightness is 500 nits in a 10% window, it's not HDR, in my opinion. To be honest, I'm sorry, but
the thing is, the 1000 nits mode is usually on a 2% window.
Yeah.
So on a 10%, then it's 400 or something like that. So it's like.
But this is why I would also not going back to monitors, because the HDR capabilities are very bad compared to TVs, in my opinion. So I don't know if there's any really good HDR monitor out there comparable to a TV. I don't think so.
No.
Because they're all struggling with the brightness.
No, there is the brightest one, I think, is the new Dove WRGB OLED. I watched the review from the display guy. And the good thing about that monitor is that it has a Gorilla Glass but it has a Gorilla Glass. Like that's what the phones have. My Samsung S23 Ultra has that. It's amazing. It's the best coating ever. But it has that over a matte finish. So it's
my God!
It's like because they couldn't remove the matte finish, so they put that on top of it. Now, it is still better than just matte finish. Don't get me wrong. And the thing is that display is so easy to clean because you don't have to worry about scratching the screen. It's awesome. But when it comes to HDR accuracy, it is the brightest, but it's super inaccurate. Over tracking the EOTF based on the testings from the display guy. So it is like super, it's like kind of, it's not great. And then you don't have a lot of settings.
I'm telling you, the monitors in the PC, the only advantage, what I've seen to get a screen, a monitor is the refresh rate. But not in terms of HDR. I would never get on, because I was thinking so many times, I would like to have a curved screen because it's so much better actually to work on a curved screen. But always when I'm looking at specs and whatsoever, I say, no, what is this? And then Artings or Ratings or whatever however you pronounce it, is a good website.
Yeah.
And they're showing exactly the peak brightness. And I say, okay, 2% window is 1000 nits. What 10%? What 400 nits? What? This is like, it's not good. It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not a good HDR experience. No.
Yeah, and they probably recommend you that because it's more accurate. Or because there's an issue with the accuracy on the other modes.
Yeah. All right. I'll just jump onto a few quick comments here I wanted to highlight. So SB Digital said you shouldn't have to go in the service menu. It's nice that you can though. So yeah, that's something like, I guess for each individual country, depending where you come from, at least where Marcus and I come from in Australia, they can choose to void your warranty if they can see there has been entry into the service menu, because there is a log counter. Even if you do reset the TV back to factory, that counter is still persistent.
No.
It doesn't reset.
It goes away. You can on the Samsung TVs, you can completely erase all history. The only thing that you will have is they know you reset the TV. That's it. They will not know anything else. So you can basically.
It didn't reset. I actually went into the service menu, reset the TV, went back in, and it went up to 2. So I don't know if that's different everywhere, but that didn't work for me. That's interesting to hear.
So the thing is, if you revert all the settings back to default. I did this on one of the S95Cs that I tested. You do factory reset. So the very first option at the top on the service menu, you click there, which is, I forgot, it's called option or something. So you click on or control. So you click on that very first option, and then the factory reset is right there. You click there. You're going to reset. Of course, all the apps are going to be erased. All the history, all the service menu log is going to get erased. But you will have a counter on the amount of times you did that factory reset. So the only thing they will see is that you reset the TV.
Yeah, but I can factory reset my TV as often as
I like to. I can do that if I want. So they cannot accuse you of doing anything other than doing the factory reset.
Interesting. With my LG C1, when I went into the service menu, it added obviously a number for logging in. When I did the factory reset and I went back into the service menu, it still had that counter there, and obviously
but I'm talking about Samsung. I'm talking about Samsung only.
Okay, good to know. So but depending which country you're from, at least in Australia, I'm assuming most people are from the States here. If we go for a warranty and we've been in the service menu, they can look at that and go, no warranty.
Yeah,
for you.
I call Samsung. Actually, I call Samsung. If you have a warranty claim, they send someone up to your home, and they will check. Have
you guys seen that video where a guy had a camera in his lounge room and it wasn't very obvious, and he called a Samsung technician in to fix his TV, and he actually captured the Samsung technician scratching the glass with the blade?
I saw this.
And then the guy came out and he said, "Oh, we can't warranty your TV. There's scratches all over it. It's damaged." And he caught it on camera, which was, you saw it, Marcus.
I saw this. Unbelievable. This is such a, that's why I never left, I mean, you have to, I don't know what the saying was, but you have to, I'm a trustworthy person. I believe that everybody is trustworthy, but that's why I would never leave someone who is here to fix something out of my sight. Full stop. I don't do this. It's not that I don't know you. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you work for LG or whatever. You can be, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
This is
you have to
he
be
should be
patient.
fired and actually in jail. To be very honest, to set an example. This is just so much. Anyway,
It's shocking, man, what they're doing to consumers. But yeah, let's get to this.
And to the brand. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so SB Digital, a lot of banding on my LG OLED TVs, but no banding on my QD OLED. So I wouldn't say no banding on the QD OLED, but significant less compared to LG. Yeah, I don't know. This is
significantly better.
Yeah.
Hey,
I did a
Ariel.
side-by-side comparison. There is a benchmark, not a benchmark, like a test pattern. That's a video to show that on the QD OLED, it was just absolute perfection, zero color banding. That video on HDR is designed to show that difference. And on the C1, the color banding was clear. So that was like, wow, huge difference. One of the biggest difference I've seen between QD OLED and WRGB on my C1.
Yeah. Banding is so much better on QD OLED. Yeah.
Question for you, Ariel, because you always do a lot of these test patterns, and I'm assuming you primarily focus on gaming. Do you ever go into watching Blu-rays, 4K HDR?
I did.
So do you do a lot of your analysis on that as well, equally with gaming, or are you primarily?
I did. So I don't have a Blu-ray, but the families actually I bought two 65-inch QD OLED, so one is for the families in the living room. So we are just doing Netflix and streaming, and so that's what I tested. I don't have Blu-rays or none of that. So when I tested Netflix, I was like, man, this doesn't look like it. It doesn't look at the level I know this TV can be. So I just went into the service menu, changed all the settings, and fine-tuned it. So Netflix looks max out for every single content. You can see all the shadow detail. No way you're crushing blacks, but it is not raised blacks. And you're getting all the brightness all the time, no matter what. And the family is like, wow, this TV just looks amazing, no matter what. Like everything looks amazing. So that was my goal. So basically what I did on the service menu was to max out the EOTF tracking. So to under track the EOTF massively, basically. I max out the EOTF tracking settings on the service menu to under track the EOTF. So that means it will look super dark if you use a static tone mapping. And then what I did was to turn on active tone mapping, which is like dynamic tone mapping on the LG, and contrast enhancer at the same time. So the problem when you do that contrast enhancer is that you're crushing blacks. So because of that, I max out the shadow detail to not crush blacks, and I still have perfect blacks. The shadow detail is more visible than out of the box, and I'm getting the maximum brightness all the time. And I already tested this with multiple contents like documentaries, movies, you name it. Everything looks amazing all the time, no matter what. And it looks natural too. I tested the colors with test patterns too. Everything looks amazing. Like nothing looks bad.
What frustrates me when I hear you say all those things is that why does Samsung need us to go into the service menu?
No, it's the content. No, Netflix is the content.
I understand, but it's
perfect.
like I get it, but what I'm saying is like there should be some sort of compensation. Samsung should be looking at Netflix on their TVs going, this looks like garbage.
Sure.
We should be implementing presets. When this app opens, we change our settings to this to make it look better, because you have to understand most, if not 99.9% of people would not go to that extreme what you do, which is fantastic, and I love listening to your videos and learning all that stuff, but most people don't have the skills or the confidence to do all that kind of stuff, so they're not getting the full capabilities of that display, which is a little bit disappointing to hear why Samsung isn't doing that. Have you had the same experience on LG displays?
No, because the dynamic tone mapping on the LG does something similar to what I did, basically.
Right. Interesting.
So that's what I did. Basically, I almost like recreated the dynamic tone mapping of LG, which is more shadow detail, and you get all the brightness all the time, no matter what. The TV,
and that's just using the internal apps on the TV, right? Have you tried using an external box like Apple TV or something? Do you have the same experience?
I do have a Google Chrome. Google Chrome. No, what's the name of this? Fire Stick. I have a Fire Stick. And I have not tried that on the Samsung, because it is actually the LG C1 is using that, and it works very well because it can force Dolby Vision over all content, and it looks amazing. It looks very, very good. Dolby Vision on the C1, it looks very, very good. So basically SDR content, everything, Dolby Vision looks amazing. So yeah, I'm happy with that.
So let's talk about this comment here. You guys hate the OLED monitors like crazy. No, we're not hating them. We just, I would not buy one if I have to. So let's say like this. I mean, if they're just not, they're too expensive for the performance. That's my opinion. There's not, they're not, peak brightness, also in terms of settings, then it's really just a monitor. You know, on a TV, I have all the apps and stuff like that, what I need. They're just way too expensive, you know? That's how it is.
If you get a mini LED monitor, you have less dimming zones. The thing is, with the smaller screen size, it's an issue to have all the performance, it seems. So, yeah.
Ariel, I have a question for you. So this is something I've been meaning to ask you. Is the last couple of live streams we've done together, you've mentioned this CRT simulation. You know what I'm referring to?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So as I said, I'm no stranger to admit when I'm out of my league. So this is out of my league. I don't know anything about it. Would you mind trying to simplify it and explain to me in just a very, not super technical way what this is and how it works, and just give me a bit of a rundown.
For example, imagine you have 240 hertz and we're going to get 60 FPS. So if you multiply 60 by 4, you get 240. So with this technology, with this CRT simulation, you generate 4 versions of each frame. So you generate 4 versions of the same frame. And each version, what it's doing is showing you the pixel. Let's say one version first shows you the pixel being over brightened. So over the target gamma, basically. The second version is showing you the pixel less bright. I'm not sure if it is below the target gamma or a little bit higher still. Then the other one is very dark and dim, and the final version is completely black. This is to simulate the phosphorus decay that the CRT has. So the way it works is with all these displays, the refresh happens left to right, top to bottom. But the difference between a sample and hold display and the CRT is that the frame visibility time on a sample and hold display is equal to the frame time. So you see the frame for the entire duration. For example, 240 hertz, the frame visibility time is approximately 4 milliseconds. So you, on a sample and hold display, you see the frame. So left to right, top to bottom, you see the frame for 4 milliseconds. And motion clarity is limited by persistence. It's limited by the frame visibility time. What that means is that it cannot be better than the frame visibility time, regardless of the technology. So if your persistence, your frame visibility time is 4 milliseconds, the best motion clarity you can get is 4 pixels of motion blur when moving at 1000 pixels per second. So you have to lower the persistence to improve clarity. How do you lower the persistence? You flicker. You can use any kind of technology that basically turns off the pixels. It turns the frame off for you, the pixels of the frame off for you. So you cannot see the frame for the whole duration of the frame time. So this new simulation of the CRT, what it's doing is reducing the flickering perception by, instead of just taking the frame away from you completely and harshly, it is taking it away in a more gradual way, in a more gradual manner. So you don't see the flickering, it is not as bothersome. To make it usable, because a lot of people cannot use the flickering because it's bothersome. It is, flashing, and you can notice that flickering all the time. So with the CRT simulation, the main advantage is that you can reduce the flickering. And not only that, you will have settings to trade off brightness for motion clarity. So if you want it to be a little bit brighter, the motion clarity is not going to be as good. So you will have more frame visibility time, means more brightness. And the reason why that's the case is because based on the Talbot-Plateau's law, we get the average brightness in time. So for example, if you have 200 nits, then 0 nits, 200 nits, 0 nits, half of the time, the average brightness is 100 nits. So if you do 200 plus 0 divided by 2, that's 200 divided by 2, that's 100 nits. So we see the average brightness in time. That's how you can trade off brightness for motion clarity.
So it's kind of like a different way of doing black frame insertion almost, it sounds like. Or am I,
yes.
okay.
So inserting a black frame is too sudden. It is too hard. Like there's no fading. So that's why it flickers.
So can I, sorry,
mention,
Marcus, I've left you in the corner. I feel bad because I've just kind of, what's the primary use case for this? I'm trying to understand. So you've got this brand new OLED TV, they're implementing this technology. What's the primary use case for it?
First of all, if your OLED is 144 hertz, it works. And if it is 165, it also works. That's a huge improvement because the LG G5 will have the same lazy BFI. So you go from 60 FPS looking to it looking like 120, because what the TV is doing is inserting a black frame in between 60 frames. So you have 60 frames, the TV is at 120, you get a real frame and a black frame. That improves, that doubles the motion. But with this technology, if it is 165 hertz, you actually get 6 milliseconds of persistence, which is the persistence of 165 hertz. So you get better motion. So let's start with that. Second thing, it flickers less. Okay, and if they implement settings, you can actually get it brighter if you want and get less motion clarity. So it's a no-brainer. It's just better everywhere. Also has better input lag too, by the way. And they are going to improve the input lag 1 time more actually on one frame.
So the technology is kind of taking advantage of tricking the human eye, so giving the human eye the perception of more frames without actually giving more frames.
I will explain you that part. The other thing is, if you have a 480 hertz display, how can you get 480 frames per second? It's almost impossible. With this technology, you get 60, and with that manipulation, you actually see the eye tracking motion clarity of 480. Now, motion clarity has other qualities that you don't get improved by just reducing the persistence. The other qualities are difficult to explain, but think about you're focusing on the object that you are eye tracking. It might look perfectly clear, but the background doesn't get a big improvement. So if you're focusing, tracking something, the background is also moving. By reducing the persistence, you're not improving that as much. So brute force high refresh frames is better than just reducing the persistence. But for eye tracking, you do as good of a job by just reducing the persistence. Now, to answer that, let me see, how can I repeat the question again, because I lost it. What is it you were asking?
Well, you kind of answered it. Where was the use case? So it's basically trying to give the perception of higher frame rate. So where would you use it? So it's just for gaming?
No, you asked something before that. Forgot.
Where were they implementing it?
The human eye, like what's going on? So what happens is that our brain, when you're eye tracking something, our brain is expecting the object to be in a certain position. So the way, imagine, we're going to slow this down. Let's say you have an object moving left to right and you have very few frames. And so it will be like this, crack, crack, crack. So you have too few frames. So if you are eye tracking, your brain is expecting the object to be moving perfectly fluidly. And what's happening is you see the frame here, your brain wants to think that the object would be here, but because you can still see the frame, it is not there actually. So the difference between where your eyes are expecting the object to be and where the object is actually at, that length, that's the amount of pixels of motion blur that you have. So when you turn off the pixel, it is better because you don't see anything and your brain is expecting the object to be here, and then it suddenly appears. So if it suddenly appears, it's okay. What is not okay is that you're expecting the object to be here and it's still here because sample and hold is still showing you the frame here. So it causes this problem. So if instead of doing this, I do this, boom, 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 I'm always showing you the object where your brain is expecting it to be.
It's an interesting technology because it's using, obviously, it understands how the human eye works and it's leveraging that against it. It's kind of reminds me of when everyone put strip lights behind their LED, behind their TVs, the bias lighting. I believe you're supposed to, when you're watching movies, have it like a very low level, warm color. And if you do that correctly in a dark room, you actually think the picture looks more bright and poppy than it really is. The bias lighting around TV. So it's just, I guess, it's the way human eye perceives it. But that was incredible explanation. Thank you very much for that. Sorry, Marcus, I know we went off.
Can you repeat this, Arrow, please? No, all good. Really crazy. Yeah, I was listening and I forgot the half already. Bloody hell. Anyway, let's try to answer this question and let's go to an end. It's almost 2 hours. If not OLED, do you recommend VA panel or IPS? So I would go with VA panel. IPS is not... No, VA panel.
Get the Nvidia Pulsar. It's an IPS, I think, and the Nvidia Pulsar has strobing with VRR at the same time, and it has the best motion clarity of any flat panels that we have now. Nvidia Pulsar display is supposed to be amazing.
We have answered this. Okay, so any last recommendations, suggestions, advice, questions?
Well, we didn't talk about the new Hisense RGB mini LED TV. 116 inches, probably $30,000-$40,000.
Good, check.
But the exciting thing is to see this technology, of course, coming to the smaller size, hopefully at a price that we can pay. I think it's a great idea. It is supposed to be more colorful than QD OLED. My biggest concern is, will the blooming be colorful? Can you imagine blooming being like blue or red? You see blooming and it now has a color. That would be like ugly, very, very ugly.
Didn't they have a micro LED display as well on Showcase?
And at an affordable price too. For micro LED standards, they say it was actually affordable. 10,000 nits too.
When this TV came out, the 116 inch you just mentioned, it actually kind of really pushed my mind back a gear because I have a Hisense 100 inch in my living room. And last year when the 110 UX came out, I was reaching out to Hisense and I said, like, give me one. I'll pay for it. I want to, I'll review it on my YouTube channel. Like, I'm happy to pay for it. I didn't actually ask for a discount. I just said, can you get me one? But they're like, I think it was 30,000 Australian dollars here. And obviously when I saw the price, I was like, no, for an extra 10 inches, am I going to pay $30,000? Depends what we're measuring. If we're measuring TVs or something else. There's a dirty joke there if no one got that. But it just blew my mind because then it's like, now I never bought that TV. And now there's 116, and there's a bigger one and there's a bigger one. And it's like, that's why I always I get sucked into the hype and I try to catch myself going, I was really considering upgrading my 100 inch TV to 110 for $30,000. Like, I need to punch myself in the head, but there's just always going to be bigger and better. But there is some exciting stuff coming through the pipeline. And I would love to see them get micro LED at an affordable price. Who knows how long that will take, but man, if they can get, 100 inches of micro LED under, I don't know, like what, $10,000, I think that's going to be the end of OLED.
It is a $1 per nit. Yeah. It's 10,000 nits per dollar. It makes sense.
See, it's actually not expensive.
You see what I mean? How you get caught up in it.
I think I like that a lot. 10,000 nits, and it also looks, the screen coating, it looks so black and awesome, glossy. That TV is gonna be wild, and also the brightness of the TV actually goes higher than what they advertise. based on the previous one, it goes like significantly higher for the peak brightness. So it is crazy how bright it is. I like that TV a lot. And also, if it has, we don't know the dimming zones, and I think it's gonna actually have less dimming zones than the previous one because of the new challenges of the RGB backlight. But if it has 40,000 dimming zones or something like that, I mean, that is so close. That would be just absolutely unbelievable. But the price is crazy.
Yeah.
And also, my biggest concern is for gaming. Is that gonna look the same for gaming with low input lag? I don't
probably
think so.
not. Probably not.
The one thing I don't know much about is with micro LED and this technology, like it's still coming. Like we saw Samsung showcase the wall how many years ago now, the micro LED wall, and it's just been coming and coming, and the prices just are out of control. Do we have any idea about, because they say this would kill the OLED because it's a self-emissive display, so you get those deep blacks, native the contrast, but what are we looking at in terms of pixel response? Would it be as quick as an OLED?
Better. It's actually better than OLED.
Because OLED is almost instantaneous, isn't it? It's not quite instantaneous, but it's very close.
Yeah, but the biggest problem of micro LED is the uniformity, because you can actually see the gaps. They build the screen in sections.
Oh, right.
There is a gap in between the sections, and they actually improved that. But if you buy the cheap one that they are selling for less price, that's gonna be the worst. And you will see very bad uniformity with those square panels. It's gonna be very ugly. The uniformity.
It does lead me to conclude that, unfortunately, and I don't know if I'm wrong, but it looks like if this actually comes through, OLED doesn't really have anywhere to go, because OLED by its nature is organic, so it's perishable. So regardless of how much they improve the color volume, the brightness, the longevity, eventually it will deteriorate and degrade in performance over time. If they can get micro LED to a affordable price, it's artificial. It's not going to degrade. Yes, it can fail, but I think this is potentially the end game technology.
No, I think I watched a video from Linus, and he was saying that nano LED, it might actually be cheaper and come to low price before micro and kill micro LED completely. Something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Interesting times, huh?
Wow,
Maybe we see something at the CES 2026 when we all meet together.
Let's go. Let me tell you, right now I am 85%. I'm going to CES next year.
What do you mean 85%? You're in the US. We coming from this country which has kangaroos,
No,
because we have planes until then. They just invented electricity here.
I have this like vision in my head, say like three of us are at CES, and I kind of see Ariel like the pit bull, walking down the street with the big tough pit bull. Yeah, because it's like there's a Samsung rep, go get him, and I want to see.
Let me tell you, if I go to CES, I am definitely doing an interview with a Samsung rep and asking them why matte finish for all the displays, why we have no glossy finish, why?
Yeah, ask him. You're for sure the first person who asked us.
We know you are an expert, and I know, and everyone that likes TVs know that matte finish is not the best. Why? It's like, that's my question. Why? Because it makes more money. Okay, so we're not trying to make the best display. Okay, I get it. It's about making money only. Okay, I understand that.
What I would like to see are the reps as knowledgeable as you guys are. I would like to see you challenge them and ask them these questions and see if they know these things, and if they know we are discussing these things, or if they don't care. I would just like to know, are they aware? Do they know? Do they have this skill set? Do they go as deep as we all do in these conversations?
The problem is what they're allowed to say,
I'm sure some of them are, of course, they know a lot more than us, for sure, a lot more. I saw like an Nvidia rep explaining the 5090, and he knew a lot. I mean, he was like genius level of, So the thing is, they might just say, well, we find out that people like it. That's why.
That's it. Next question.
That's simple. People like it.
Yeah,
Next
they will
question.
not tell you the reason, the real reason. Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah.
So
No, but I'm
even
looking
if I
forward.
say, yeah, but it's not it's not the best, right? Do you agree with me? He might even say, yeah, I agree with you. I don't like it, but we listen to our customers and our customers like it. That's
Yeah.
it.
Interesting.
What customers? Show me them.
Exactly.
Okay, guys. Absolutely fantastic stream. Next time I see you at the CES. No, of course not. There are a lot of live streams before we going there. But I mean, it's not a joke. We need to start thinking about it. You know, because the earlier we book flights, especially for us, Adam, the cheaper it gets, or the better for us.
Yeah, again, I have family there in Vegas, so I'm most likely going anyway. So I'm just changing the date. I was gonna go anyway, so that's why I'm telling you, it's like 85%. I'm going to CES.
If you're not going, I'm not going.
Let's go.
No.
Let's go.
No, it's the plan. The plan is.
I want to see all the YouTubers. You know, I want to say hi to everyone I can see. On CES, you can see everyone.
No.
Absolutely everyone was there.
They looking forward to meet us. That's how it is.
Ariel, Marcus and I thought we were staying at your place.
Yeah, that's what we're doing anyway.
No, the thing is, it's not my place. I don't live in Vegas. So
okay.
I have some family there, and the family house is packed. I have to rent anyway. So maybe what we can do is we can rent together. We can find a place we can pay and split the cost.
I'll be coming with the whole family, man. So
yeah, same here. Family is coming, so maybe we can.
Okay.
I mean, maybe it makes sense to have a small house rented or whatever. I don't know if it makes sense because hotel is also during this time. It will be expensive anyway.
So
anyway, that's it.
No strip club, none of that. Just you coming with the family.
No,
I haven't said that. We just said the family is coming, and
let's not talk crazy.
The wife can do something with the kids, and we doing.
I've never been a strip club. I never had money for that.
Fantastic live stream, guys. This was awesome.
Okay.
So I appreciate it all. That was great. Well done.
Okay,
Let's
cool.
go.
Then I see you Wednesday, Adam, and I see you, Ariel, on next Sunday. Okay.
Yeah.
You guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you
for letting me join in the stream, guys. Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye.